Knights of the Old Republic 2 was created by Obsidian and not BioWare, as BioWare went to work on Jade Empire. So this one was made by Obsidian using the same engine, and that's extra interesting because they went on to do basically the same kind of thing with Fallout New Vegas, where they used the same engine, and then a lot of people praise them as of saying their game is better than the previous game. It seems like people can like KOTOR 1 and 2. If only the Fallout fans could learn you can like more than one game. Anyway, this time we are not Revan. We play as a character known as the Exile, Mitra Surik. I want to say her name is Mitra Surik, but I'm having such a hard time pronouncing it. I'm going to continue calling her the Exile, which she is, but like Mitra Surik. The Exile was once a Jedi who left during the Mandalorian Wars and worked closely with Revan and Malak. And if you recall, the Jedi were weakened at this time and didn't want to enter another war. It was Revan and his followers that went to war to stop the Mandalorians. Those who left the Jedi to fight with Revan were summoned back for judgment. Most of them did not return. However, your character, the Exile, did. And she lost her connection to the Force. Recently, a hint of it was returning, but something happened. We wake up in a tank, a Kolto tank, I think, and there are others in tanks beside us, but they are dead. Where are we? How did we get here? As we explore this place, we find it is very empty. This is Paragus. It is a mining station, but most of the workers are dead. We also meet Kreia, a mysterious old bitch who seems to have the Force and is one of the only other people alive here. The other person alive being a guy named Atten, who we find in a jail cell. Now, due to our Force returning, we start off as a Jedi, slowly able to gain Force abilities from the beginning. Previously, I said that people complained about Terrace in KOTOR 1. They said, oh, it's too long. And I said something along the lines of, oh, that didn't bother me because I like it. Well, here I am as a hypocrite saying that Paragus is too long and I don't like it. The concept of waking up with everyone dead and you just gotta figure out what happened is a good one. This is a good concept. It just goes on for too many hours. In short, though, what you learn is that we were attacked by some sort of Sith, which is weird because after Malak, the Sith kinda vanished. We were being preserved by the miners to sell because we are a Jedi, and Jedi are basically extinct as well, and so they go for a lot of money. It was some HK droids that killed everyone, and were planning on selling us themselves. We kill them, and the plan is to take the Ebon Hawk, which I'm not sure if we had or if Kreia had, but one of us had it for some reason, and Revan did not, because Revan is not around right now. We kill the HK droids and then find that another ship has boarded and is here to get us. And so we fight off some stealthy Sith assassins and we meet Darth Sion. He basically looks like a pile of rocks being held together by the Force. Kreia attempts to fight him and her hand is cut off, which hurts us as well. It turns out we have this Force bond with her, kind of like Revan did with Bastila in the first one, where if she gets hurt, we also get hurt. So we go and we get the Ebon Hawk and we manage to escape, but only by exploding the mining station. We end up on Telos being detained by basically their police force while they investigate the explosion of the mining station. Now, Telos as a planet is wrecked. The surface is not doing well, and if you recall from KOTOR 1, Telos was Karth's home planet that got bombed to shit by the Sith. It's where his wife died and his son was captured. So where we actually are is a city station that exists above the planet surface of Telos. There are two groups of people fighting for control of Telos' surface. There's the Ithorians, and they have a plan to rebuild the surface of Telos and make it habitable again. And Zerka Corporation does not want that for profit reasons. Also, they are working with the Exchange. It's the kind of choice you gotta make in a lot of these games, morality or profit, and we will have to pick one. Now, we are released, but someone stole the Ebon Hawk, so our current mission is to find out who and get it back. and we briefly team up with the Exchange to kill the Exchange boss. And the person we teamed up with, she then betrays us and we kill her too. I think something funny about the Exchange is you can just keep killing the people who guard the door to the Exchange, to the point you gain reputation as being the guy who kills the door guard, and eventually they'll just let you in if you keep doing that. Anyway, we help the Ithorians, and in return, they help us get to the planet's surface to try to find out who stole our ship. We get shot down though, and we have to kill more Exchange members. But we do gain a new follower. This is Bayodur, and he fought in the Mandalorian Wars with us. By some mysterious coincidence, or perhaps the Force, the two of us are connected here again. And he has a cyborg arm and is good at fixing things and building things, and he also has a strong dislike of Mandalorians based on the pain they caused. But he also realizes the war caused a lot of pain, and in turn, so did he. So he is on Telos trying to help them rebuild and fight off Exchange forces. He is a welcome member to the team, and we travel and kill and such. One thing to mention about Knights of the Old Republic 2 is it has random difficulty spikes. Its difficulty is not a slow exponential growth, it is more like a roller coaster, and a big part of that here happens especially right on this planet here, is that there will be wide open spaces that your allies will run into and get blasted to hell, and there's not much you can do about that. For the most part, it's fine. It's just every now and then there's a spot where your allies basically commit a suicide run. Anyway, we find what we need to. We head to a snowy part of Telos to get our ship, and we get shot down again, this time by HK assassin droids. And this is also one of the hardest parts in my opinion. The droids become easy later on, but at our current level, these droids kick our ass. After that, we enter the snowy area. Kreia, Bayodur, and Aten are held in cells, and we go to meet our captors. And while we are doing that, Kreia is being a weird, manipulative hoe bag.
What are you doing? Get out of my head!
Stop struggling. Let me follow the current. Deeper to its source.
Stop! Ah!
Do not worry, Aten. If she is a Jedi, she will forgive. And if she is not, she will not care.
You can't tell her. Please. I'm asking you. I don't want her to...
Think less of you. I hardly think that's possible. Still, there is no shame in what you ask. We all wage war with the past, and it leaves its scars. I will not speak of yours, Aten, but there is a price for such things. You know how important this woman we travel with is. Even one such as you can feel it. You will serve her until I release you.
And if I refuse?
You will not. If you do, then my silence will be broken. And then, Aten, you will be broken. You fear the Jedi, and rightly so. If Atris learns of your choices, you will never leave this place. But whatever fear you hold of the Jedi, know that if you disobey me, that my punishment will make you beg for the death that has long hounded you. Our path brought us here for a reason, and now I know why. The past is here, and it must be met before the future can be set in motion.
More Jedi speak. Care to explain?
No. I've wasted enough time with you. Sleep, murderer, and be silent. I need no distractions. A critical moment approaches.
We are greeted by Atris. She was one of the members of the Jedi Council that exiled us, and she holds the secrets of the Jedi here. She has many holocrons, and she has also brought various Ichani handmaidens to serve her. These Ichani do not have the ability to get the Force, and strangely enough, Atris, who believes herself to be the last Jedi, has surrounded herself with non-Force users. She also wields your old lightsaber, which is based upon what you choose for it. Atris has a very I'm better than everyone kind of personality, and a very I've never ever been wrong kind of vibe. Kind of like Bastila, but like actually worse. So Atris has your ship and will allow you to go. Before we do though, we spar with the handmaidens, eventually beating all 5 of them. There are actually 6 handmaidens, but one is treated differently because she's not full Ichani. Now if you are a male, then she becomes a companion, but if you are a female, then you get a different companion later. So since I'm a woman on this playthrough, I did not get her. We do, however, get the droid T3 from the first KOTOR, as he was with the Ebon Hawk when it got taken from us. He was also on Paragus, if I didn't mention that already. Anyway, our new mission is to go throughout the galaxy finding the last of the Jedi, the ones that exiled us. The main reason is because the Sith have returned. We know that from seeing Scion. And this is like the star maps of KOTOR 1, where we pick a planet and then we keep going to each one in whatever order we choose. So off we are to our first planet, Nar Shaddaa. And while heading there, Kreia reveals some information. Not only was she once a Jedi, but she was also once a Sith. She knows not only who was hunting us on Paragus, but also another one who was there, Darth Nihilus, a very, very powerful Sith Lord. They used to be a team of 3, but no more, and Nihilus is sending a servant to kill us. Anyway, we land on Nar Shaddaa, and it's time to do shit. Now, Nar Shaddaa to me is basically scumbag hut-controlled Coruscant. It's like All City, but more scummy than Coruscant. In this particular game, it feels a little empty, and I'm chopping that up to that this is way, way, way in the past, so it makes sense that it's not as much of a sprawling city yet. That said, it is still good, and there is still plenty to do here. Specifically, I chose this one as my first one because not only can you get a follower, but you can do a lot of influencing as well. See, followers in this game have an influence meter. The actions or inactions you will make will influence your crew, and a good number of them can become force sensitive, which is really cool. So I was attempting to get Atton and Beodor force sensitive. Sadly, I never got Beodor, but I did get Atton, and he opened up to me and told me the truth about his past. It was his job to hunt Jedi. He worked for the Sith, and he would hunt down Jedi, and he had a lot of training, including mind training, so that he could never fall for Jedi mind tricks. He has been so trained, and sadly so used to the abuse of the Force taking over your will, that he plays Pazak in his head all the time to focus on that, because it's harder to take over his will when he's focused on that. Atton did some awful things. He also ran away from it all and wanted to change. We not only can influence if he becomes a Force user, but we can influence him as a person as well. A lot of our companions we can do this with. In this case, we can either convince Atton that there is a path to redemption, or that people have taken advantage of him long enough. Fuck 'em, let's be bad boys. So now my Xbox run, I choose the redemption path. However, it's time to reveal a secret. I've also been playing on PC as well, as a villain. See, KOTOR 2 was rushed by the end of it, and they didn't have enough time to put all they wanted to, so they cut out a lot. However, some stuff they cut out was mostly finished and left on the disc, so there is this mod called the Restored Content mod on PC that brings out those files. And well, this isn't Obsidian's true vision, it is closer to their true vision, and I hear this mod recommended to me all the time. So I have 2 characters going, my good one on the Xbox and an evil one on the PC with the Restored Content mod, and sometimes I'll bring up the differences. Now, most differences are incredibly minor, so I won't really bring them up, but for example, on the Xbox, this dock worker is an Toydarian, and on the PC, with the Restored Content mod, he is a Toydarian. What does that change? Very little. Or on this PC, there's a guy who won't stop hitting on this girl and you can just chase him away, and he doesn't exist on the Xbox version. Again, it doesn't really affect a lot. So I'm really going to talk about the changes that actually do affect the game. Now in the PC version, there's just a few extra fights. and HK droids will follow you to each planet, and that will be a whole ass thing as they'll be hunting you, and I think that is a good change. In the Xbox version, you don't have HK droids hunting you throughout every planet. Also, there are areas in Nar Shaddaa where your companions will fight against the gangs while you are busy in the restored content, but Xbox-wise, those fights don't exist. I mean, like, they do kind of. Atten has a fight, but like there's bonus other fights. Now, back to what I was doing. See, first off, we met a hut briefly, and to do that, we either have to have a female companion disguise themselves as a dancer, or we, if we are playing as a female, will disguise ourselves as a dancer. And then after that, we get to meet the crime lord with the exchange in the Jekjektar, which is a place that has alien air that is harmful for us to breathe. During this time, you were captured and briefly knocked out before fighting through everyone, and you get a companion. If you are good, you get Mira, who I guess I've never been too fond of. She's okay, but she's against killing and her voice acting is kind of bland to me. And if you are evil, you get Hanhar, and he is a Wookiee who swore a life debt to Mira when she saved him, and despite her not wanting that, he treats the life debt like it's slavery, and he feels like he'll only be free when she's dead, which she, again, doesn't want any of this. She just wants him to go on with her life. In other words, Hanhar has some crazy mental issues. Now, I think Hanhar is kind of a tank and is helpful. However, Mara can get the Force and Hanhar can't, because George Lucas doesn't want Wookiees to have the Force except for the times where he does. So really it's a toss-up, because neither of them is a favorite of mine, so it doesn't matter that much. Either way, Hanhar dies and Kreia appears and resurrects him, which is interesting, because what the hell is she getting up to? Now I gotta show you this. At one point, Mira was talking about men in a pretty I hate men kind of way, and this fucking dude came up and started cheering, and it was really funny to me. If I remember correctly, he's actually cheering because I saved some refugees, but it still cracked me the fuck up.
Sure, very easy. That's why I dress like this. When they're looking down to check you out, you can usually smash them on the base of the skull or deliver an uppercut that knocks them flat. It's simple. When you want a man, you jab him with a boffin stunner, then while he's screaming in pain, slap some stun cuffs on him. Then starve him for 2 or 3 days until he becomes open to suggestion, then double check his bounty and see if he's worth anything.
Also, another thing that cracked me up is I could ask Hanhar if he knew what love is. That's so silly. Okay, let's go through some various things that happened. Atten had to find some twin Twi'leks who actually ended up being a challenge until I switched him to melee, and then for some reason that worked for ass-kicking reasons. We also got kidnapped by the leader of the exchange, Godo, who we never met, and he just has a droid that he speaks through, even though he kidnapped us, and I hated that whole mission of rescuing me, which actually is like not that bad. You get to play as your companions to go save you, and I like that. I just didn't like parts of this mission, but for some reason, good or evil, Godo the droid has to be a companion, and that's bullshit. Because in both playthroughs I wanted him dead. He's influencing battles for profit, and I can't stand him, and since I can't kill him, I just bench his ass forever. Visas, at least I've been calling her Visas, I think her name is actually Visas Mar, but I apologize if I slip into calling her Visas again, but it's Visas. And we beat her, and she joins our side, and she's honestly really cool. She's sort of blind, like her eyes don't see, but she still sees with the Force. And we also meet the Jedi, and we talk to him, and we're ready to leave now. Now, before we jump to the next planet, let me talk about my evil PC guy. First off, he has the Handmaiden as his companion, and we do some half-naked sparring, which is not a euphemism for anything. We actually are sparring. Her name is Brianna, and she is a cool character that sadly I don't get to know in this playthrough either, because Visas and Handmaiden both want my love, and even though I didn't pick one of them, it became clear to them that it was Visas. And that's crazy, because it wasn't even clear to me. We had just met, and I mean that for both of them. We had just met both of them. Anyway, they kind of fight over me, and I lose the ability to even talk to Handmaiden, because she's so upset that I chose Visas over her, which again, I didn't do. I also vent to the evil Aten about this, and he's like, yeah, that's women for you.
Let me show you how one fights when one's life is the Force.
I won't let you harm him. I have heard of your kind. You worship strength, when all it does is rot you from within. Protect him? I do not believe you.
You do not believe that I would follow him to death. Certainly you have read as much in my movements as I have in yours. There's no shame in your feelings, Sister of the Echani.
Be silent. You know nothing of what you speak.
I had a question for you, Sister of the Echani. The exile. What does he look like?
Like a man, but it is more than that. And I do not have the words. He is selfish, at times lacking discipline to his urges. My mistress was right about him. The galaxy has poisoned his heart, but yet I hope that he can be redeemed.
I fear the exile has let his feelings for the Miraluka affect his judgment, and it will doom him.
There is still hope.
I do not believe so, and neither do you. You have seen his stance, his movements. They mirror hers, not yours.
Why is it you trust her and not I? I would follow you wherever you led. I believe in what you... Yet you listen to her counsel. She who would lead you to the Sith Lords themselves. She who would sacrifice you to darkness. I do not believe you. Every action you have taken with her runs counter to your word. This is the end, but I will aid you against the enemies we face. But when it is settled, you... There is nothing for us to discuss. There is nothing for us to discuss.
There's a surprise. Trust me, she's a handful. All warriors are. They're not used to dealing with things they can't punch, kick, or break. Look, I know how it is. Me, there's no denying that I'm a good-looking guy. You have it worse. Because even though you might not be as good-looking as me, you have that whole tortured past, that command presence. Women want to save you. They think they can help you. They think that everyone can be redeemed, and that they're the only ones who can do it. And you don't know if it's you or the idea of you that they love. We're just talking. Like I said, it's possible they don't love you at all. That they just want to help you. Help you hear yourself if you've gone deaf to your own voice. We all lose our way sometimes, and we need someone to pull us back.
My favorite thing about the evil playthrough is you aren't searching for the Jedi for answers and help. You're searching for them to kill them as revenge for taking your Force powers, and that's fucking crazy. I love it. Anyway, on to the next planet. Dantooine is a bit different than it once was. In KOTOR 1, they bombed the shit out of the place, and that's how it is now. Lots of rubble. Rubble. Now, there is still some semblance of society, and there is also a lot of mercenaries, and those two groups are at each other constantly. And you kinda gotta pick who you're with. And this is kind of neat, because if you're good, then you actually help out, and if you are bad, then you sabotage them, but pretend you're helping out. And then the mercenaries can easily take over. We also visit the ruins of the Jedi Temple, and we meet the Disciple. He's a follower you can only get if you are a woman. He's here studying the ruins, as he's very interested in Jedi stuff, and he joins our party. Also, with the restored content mod, there's a lone surviving Jedi here who you can briefly talk to. She is a side story and not voice acted as well as the other characters, simply because she wasn't in the original game, but it's still neat she's there.
I'm a Padawan, and one day I will learn enough to be a Jedi.
Now, personally, I guess I question it story-wise, as we're trying to find the last Jedi, and she just happens to be one. But she's unimportant, so I wonder if she was meant to stay deleted? Who knows? We also meet Vrook. He was one of the Dantooine Jedi Masters from the first game, and he was kind of meh in the first game. I wasn't a big fan of him, but here, he's a real asshole. As a villain, though, I once again can fight him to kill him, and he's one of the hardest fights I had in the game. That was really it. Some planets feel mighty short, but I'm guessing that's because they were going to be longer. They just happened to not have enough time. So on to the next planet. While flying to Onderon, Kreia reveals to us that she once trained Revan. She was his Jedi Master and was blamed for his fall to the dark side, as well as leaving to go fight. So not only has Kreia been a Sith before, but she's also been a Jedi before. What she is now, we don't really know. Something in between. Something that is neither. Now, Onderon seems to have a blockade going on as a war is brewing on the planet, and we're forced to land on the moon of Duxon instead, which is really close to the planet. They share the same atmosphere, and sometimes, like, the monsters of the moon end up on the planet of Onderon. So, I mean, we were close to Onderon. This moon is a jungle, and it's here where the disciple becomes a Jedi. It turns out that he was once one of many students training to be a full Jedi Knight, and that he wanted me to become his master. However, when Mitra Surik left for the Mandalorian Wars, he was never chosen, so he never became a Jedi Knight, and this is his second chance. So he becomes our apprentice now, along with Atan, Vissus, and Mara. Beodor can also become your apprentice, but somehow in both playthroughs I did not get that. Now, one thing in the restored content mod that isn't in the Xbox version is anything Kreia teaches me, I can then pass down to teach my students, and I think that's fucking awesome. So then we end up meeting with some Mandalorians here. If people knew there were Mandalorians here, it would be bad for them, but the Mandalorians are trying to rebuild. We also meet their leader, Mandalore, and Mandalore is less of a name and more of a title. There have been multiple Mandalores, and during the Mandalorian Wars there was a different Mandalore who was killed by Revan. This is the new Mandalore who is helping rebuild the Mandalorians, and this Mandalore happens to be someone we know from a previous game. It's Canderous from that first game, and he joins our party, and I think that's really cool, and you can even tell how much he misses Revan. Everyone you see who was from the first game is deeply missing Revan. He left on a secret mission taking none of his friends, and they're all missing him and wondering what happened to him. We do a bunch of side missions with the Mandalorians to gain their respect, including one of my favorite things, fighting in an arena. I will always love arena battles in RPGs. After gaining enough respect, we're able to travel with Mandalore on a smaller ship to Onderon. Now in Onderon, there's a lot of shit going on. Propaganda's being played on news stations, journalists are being arrested, and very few people are able to even leave the planet. And you can kind of take a side or take no stance whatsoever. You are mainly doing various side quests and having to solve a mystery to prove the innocence of one of Mandalore's friends. And I don't know that I care too much about that. I don't know that I was too interested in that whole plot. What I am a little more interested in is the political war that will be starting any second. Listening to the rioters and the people debating back and forth of who to take, and I'll kinda explain the sides real quick. So we have a queen, and she's been the ruler for a while now, and she supports the Republic despite the fact the Republic is far weaker than they previously were. She was also the queen during the Mandalorian Wars, in which Onderon was hurt very badly, and she continues to aid and supply the Republic despite her people feeling they aren't getting much back in return from the Republic. She's also a queen, so it's not like she was democratically elected, although somehow I guess Padme was a democratically elected queen, so maybe there's something I don't understand about Star Wars politics. I mean, there is actually a lot I don't understand about Star Wars politics, like who the hell on Naboo keeps deciding to only elect teenage girls to rule a planet? What the fucking hell? Anyway, back to Onderon politics. The Queen's opponent is General Vaklu, who was also here in Onderon fighting in the Mandalorian Wars and is also very important to Onderon in resisting the Mandalorians. He basically wants to cut off all ties to the Republic and become completely independent as a planet. And honestly, in some ways, this is better for the people. However, the game paints the Queen as the good option and the General as the bad option, including having him work for Sith. Plus he has this propaganda going as well as imprisoning people who speak out against him, so he is the bad guy. And it's kind of disappointing because they had a chance to make both options compelling as like, ooh, this one could work, or ooh, this one could work. But yeah, instead on the Xbox I joined the Queen, and on the PC I did some bad shit to hinder the Queen. We end up having to dip out of there as there's a war starting up, but we will be back to this planet as this planet actually has 2 parts to it, and you need to leave before coming back to finish it. So off we go to Korriban, which I was saving for last, but since you actually can't really do it last, or maybe you can, I don't know if you do it in a weird order, but let me just ramble on a little more about those politics though. Now, to me, normally a one ruling overseeing party is a bad thing, so a queen would most likely be bad. However, it is not always this. I can accept a good queen. I can. I was kind of complaining earlier that one was painted good and one was painted bad. But after thinking about real world politics, that kind of changed my mind. Because guess what? It doesn't matter that one guy is the bad guy, that he silences people, that he spreads propaganda. Because there's a huge population of absolute idiots out there that will eat that shit up and praise him no matter what. And that's just how politics are. Because people are absolute morons. So the fact that one is painted as good and one evil, I take it back. It doesn't matter. It still works. I think they could have played it off better than they did, perhaps if they had more time. They just had a great blueprint of something to work with, and I guess I was just disappointed that they didn't do that. Anyway, let me shut the fuck up about that now, and let's move on to Korriban. Korriban, home of the Sith. Or at least it was. But infighting after Revan's adventure in KOTOR 1 has caused it to become absolute ruin. I made a crack about how small our Dantooine planet mission was, but I think this takes the cake as a very short planet. We mostly just fight some enemies and search the rubble. Also, whether good or bad side, the Jedi you're looking for is always dead when you find her. We also meet Darth Sion again, and he attacks us and we have to run, and Kreia gets in our mind and tells us that we can't defeat him. After retreating, we end up in a cave, a very Force-sensitive cave that is giving us visions. The 2 biggest visions are one where Kreia is arguing with our teammates, and we can pick a side or no side. And I don't remember which one I went with. I think maybe I did one of each. I don't fully remember. But what happens next is all of them saying apathy is death before we fight. Even the droid, which honestly made a serious situation become very silly.
So you will do nothing. Apathy is death.
Apathy is death.
Apathy is death. Apathy is death.
Apathy is death.
I suppose I agree with the apathy thing, but I also disagree. Staying neutral or not getting involved is honestly sometimes what keeps you alive. Sometimes it's needed to keep peace. Literally in Mass Effect 2, I took a side when Jack and Miranda fought, and it turns out that taking no side was the right answer. While apathy can be death, I don't agree that it always is. And in this case, this wasn't the lack of will to act. This was, I knew this was a vision, and Kreia was in my head, and I don't need to let her know one way or the other what I would do in that situation, which is not a lack of the will to act. Do I get that this was to teach me that inaction has consequences? Sure. But I promise that actions have consequences too. Sometimes a lack of action is an action within itself and had nothing to do with a lack of motivation and will. And I mean, this is an interesting line that I think has many various stories within this game that you could look at regarding this line and be like, yeah, okay, I see that. But at least to me, I think apathy can be death. It's a more correct line than apathy is death. Anyway, we fight a vision of Revan and then we dip off the planet and it's time to finish our business on Onderon. So back to the Duxon Moon. We get to do one of the coolest things, and I wish we got to do it more often. We get to choose 2 parties to go on separate missions. One needs to attack a Sith temple, the other needs to go to Onderon to either fight with or against the Queen, depending on what you chose last time. This leads to you picking 2 teams and having to switch back and forth as those teams. And this is great because it gives you and your teammates and the characters you wouldn't normally use for your main party a chance to shine. And I love it. It is, however, important you make both teams competent. Don't just send a squad that you don't think can make it. I recommend, at minimum, one Force healer per party. Anyway, the Onderon Palace attack is cool. It's a big battle between the Queen and her troops and the General and his. The Queen ain't no bitch. She can legitimately fight, and she does so. Which was a surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one. You end up winning and deciding what happens to the loser. Also, you meet the one last Jedi, or you kill him depending on if you're good or bad. With that done, we have all the Jedi we need, and we can return to Dantooine to talk to all of them. So now is a fine time, I suppose, to mention that HK-47 is a companion in this game as well, and you have to find all his parts to fix him. Yet, somehow in both playthroughs, I never got them all. I thought I did, like I was going out of my way to make sure I did, but I must have been missing one. Anyway, you had to have him and another downloaded mod, and he would have had his own little mission to destroy the other HKs that had been hunting you level after level. And that would have been kind of cool, but yeah, I didn't get him, and apparently, even if I did, the apathy is death scene becomes even more silly. Like, if you just remove the droids, I like it, but with the droids, it feels silly. And honestly, the apathy is death thing works for this game. I don't know why he spent such a big deal going, oh, apathy is death, maybe it should be. You look, it works for this game. I should have just shut the fuck up. Anyway, here we are back on Dantooine. It's time to talk to the Jedi. We need to inform them the Sith are back and to make a plan how to defeat Nihilus and Scion. Hopefully they can help us out. But that's not what's gonna happen. See, there was many Jedi gathered on this planet known as Qatar. Darth Nihilus, or Nihilus, or however it's pronounced, he found out where they were and was able to absorb their essence, killing everyone on the planet but Visas. This is why the last Jedi are all separated and why they are refusing to help us. And by coming together, they're afraid something like that can happen again. It is also revealed to us that they actually never took away my powers. This entire time, I had cut myself off from them. See, during the Mandalorian Wars, there was this big battle on the planet of Malachor 5. Revan sent a bunch of people down to fight, including Jedi, including us. And while he fought the Mandalore of that time in space, everyone else was fighting down below on Malachor 5. So we activated this machine called the Mass Shadow Generator. It is a weapon that Beodor worked on, and this killed everyone on the planet. It destroyed life and the planet itself, and with all that pain, with all that death, we cut the Force off so that we could survive. So we didn't have to feel the feelings of pain everyone else was to deal with that amount of death. And now the Force has returned to us, and the Jedi are afraid of what I can do and what can happen. They claim that my use of the Force influences others, that even if I don't mean to, I am controlling people, and this is why I have companions. They claim with everyone I kill, I grow more powerful, and I feed off death. Which is kind of true, as I do gain XP to level up for everything I kill. But I also gain XP for not killing, so maybe I just kind of become stronger for doing things. They think I just kind of suck up the Force around me and grow stronger off it, and if left unchecked, that I could destroy the Force. They think if I am free to continue, I could end up being more harmful than good, and therefore I must be cut off from the Force again, permanently. And that is why they have allowed me to regather them, because together they can take the Force from me. What a bunch of absolute losers. They begin blasting me to take away the Force, but then Kreia steps in. Turns out this was not my plan. Not their plan, but her plan. It was Kreia who gathered them here through me. Kreia then does something to them. I'm not sure what. She just kind of yoinks the life out of them and they die. Which maybe that's what, Nihilus was doing. Nihilus. She then leaves to the planet to go back to Telos. On my more evil PC version, though, Kreia is the only one there because all the Jedi are dead because I killed them. Kreia also goes into a lot of the same talking points the Jedi went into, but slightly differently. And then she asks us if it was worth killing all the Jedi, to which my evil guy answers, well, there's still Atris left. And then Kreia calls us dumb. She says she didn't actually want us to kill the Jedi, she only wanted them to realize that they were simple-minded dumbasses and to embrace the complexity of the Force rather than just the light side. Or just the dark side. She wanted them to see what she sees, and true victory would have been them waking up from their ignorance. She then shows us how tied into the Force we are by fucking stabbing herself, which takes us out. It doesn't kill either of us, but it does hurt like hell. And with that, I think our bond is broken, and she goes off to see Atris. And off we go too, just following behind her at a ways. Now Atris, she has been using her Echani to gather holocrons and such, including many Sith holocrons, and in studying them to learn ways to defeat the Sith, she became one herself. Nihilus is on his way there to Telos. He's going to just wipe that place out, and we attempt one last time to get Atris on our side, but she thinks she must kill us and Nihilus to restore things, and in the end we must kill her. We also kill her in our evil playthrough, but that's just because we bad boys. But Kreia isn't there. She is on Malachor and not here.
Kill me. End this. Such arrogance. You know where the final test lies. It is not here, not in the battle that will wage across the surface and skies of this dead planet. And know that if you do not come to me, if you run from this, then I shall sacrifice myself and end both our lives through the bond we share.
Anyway, with Nihilus coming and the Sith attacking Telos, it's time for a fight, and the Republic is here, and to lead the fight is Admiral Karth Onasi. This time, he's gonna make sure Telos will be saved. After fighting off some people, we make it to the ship Nihilus is on, and Mandalore is helping us set up bombs to blow it up. Meanwhile, Karth and his fleet are fighting Nihilus' ship. Upon getting far enough, we come to the room Visas was being held in for so long, and we give her a little time before continuing on. At last we meet Nihilus, the husk of a man, literally a being that is the Force, here to destroy Telos. His voice is but sounds. His crew are like zombies working for him. And yet, when he tried to absorb us, as he has absorbed so many before, he failed. And now this is our chance, and we go straight into battle with this creature of darkness, which ends pretty damn quick. It's kind of an underwhelming fight. I assume he was going to be far more awesome, but what we got is just not a lot. Just a very quick fight, the end, we win. We let Visas take his mask off, and we don't know what she sees. It's a mystery. You can also have her bring you his mask, but sadly it's not wearable, and that sucks ass, because I would love to wear that mask. On the PC version, Mandalore and Visas struggle in the fight, but have a heart-to-heart after, where Mandalore is telling him that she reminds him of Revan, and how he misses Revan, etc.
You have been wounded before and lived, Mandalorian. Rise.
You sound like Revan at the end. Do you know what he told me in those last days on the Outer Rim? That the Mandalorian Wars were our doom, and that we had been deceived. That it had never been our decision to wage war on the Republic. Revan said the Mandalorians didn't invade the Republic space 10 years ago because it was our choice. We were tricked. Our entire people sacrificed as pawns. and never knew it. He said there was a war coming, that it was waiting out in the unknown regions, in the dark, waiting for us to destroy each other.
A war? This war?
No, not this one. Another one. More terrible. Against an evil we couldn't begin to comprehend. A war of belief that had been fought for thousands of years. Revan went off to fight it.
And left you here.
Revan was one of the greatest military leaders in the galaxy, in history. He knew what he was doing, and I always follow orders.
And what did he mean by that? That's gonna have to be a completely different video, because it's not really explained in this game. We get off the ship and it blows up. We talked to Karth one last time, and Bastil is there as well, which is really cool to see both of them. And they're super worried about Revan, where he went and all that. And just like Canderous, you can tell they miss him.
I ask you, did you find any trace of Revan? I served with him like you did, and we had to part ways like you did. He said that there were places where he had to walk where I could not go, places where having allies, or anyone he cared about, would only place them in danger. It's been 4 years, and I still don't know what happened to him. He told me to stay here to try to keep the Republic strong, and that he would return. It was the hardest request I ever had to follow. I don't know, but it was important to him. He said that he believed something had been behind the Mandalorian Wars, that it hadn't been the Mandalorians' choice to attack the Republic. Whatever it was, I think he went off to find it, to fight it. And I think he finally remembered something terrible that he'd done during the Mandalorian Wars, and he went to put an end to it. He left a lot of people who cared about him behind, but I think he did it because he thought it was the right thing to do. If you return to that place, if you find some trace of Revan, no, simply tell him that Admiral Onasi is following his orders.
Did she know?
No, she didn't.
There are times I fear we shall never know where he left Karth. And I cannot live not knowing the answer. Why he sought to protect us.
He asked us to stay to keep the Republic safe. It was important to him. And after meeting the exile, I'm convinced that there are worse things to lose in the galaxy.
And again, I'll have to go into where is Revan at this time in a different video, because it's not the focus of the game. But goddammit, if we had gotten a third KOTOR, it would have been really cool to explore. We go off to search for Kreia, aka Darth Treya, and she's called Treya because she's the betrayer. Like, the naming's a little silly, but like, Star Wars has always had some silly namings. Anyway, so we crash land on Malachor 5. This place is dead, destroyed, in ruins from the mass shadow generator that was used so long ago. Monsters lurk about. Poison is coming from the grounds. There's no vegetation. There's very little light. And off we go to find Kreia's temple. And our partners kind of do their own thing, sorta. Most of them just kind of get forgotten about from here on out, sadly. And this ending feels like by far the most unfinished part of the game. Mira and Hanhar, they get this underwhelming final fight to the death where Mira wins. Beodor's droid goes off to start the mass shadow generator, but then Godo stops him. And it's clear something was supposed to happen here, but it just ends here. Like, we don't know what comes of that. Over on the PC, the Handmaiden and Visas fight over my love, which never happened. We don't get to see that fight, but also, like, in my playthrough, Handmaiden, like, gave up on me really fucking quick. So why is she fighting here? Also, Atton and Darth Sion fight, and we actually do get to do that fight, and let me tell you, Atton is so not equipped for this fight. You spend a good chunk just, like, running and healing. And as for us, we make it to the temple, and we kill hordes of Sith. Sith after Sith. They stand no chance to the power of Force Storm. Now comes our next battle. The battle with Darth Sion, a man whose hatred is so strong it forever keeps him alive. No matter the damage done to him, he is filled with such hate, the Force won't let him die. His hatred for Kreia made me think maybe we could team up, but unfortunately we can't because he also wants to destroy us too badly.
You and her are alike, yet different in all the ways that matter. And I hate you as I hate her. I hate you because you crawl within my head as she does. But your presence holds no thoughts, no teachings. You are just there, unspoken. I hate you because you are beautiful to me. And in that weakness lies death.
So we fight him, this unstoppable force, and I mean we kick his ass over and over and over and over again, but he won't die. And how do you beat someone who won't die? That's the problem like enemies have against Wolverine from X-Men. Like how the fuck do you beat someone who just keeps coming back? Well, with Sion we kinda just tell him to give up being so goddamn angry. And then he does. He gave it up, and instantly he dies from all his wounds. It's a little overwhelming, but much better than the Nihilus fight. I mean, it's kind of cool in the fact he was able to cut himself off from the Force, just like we did at one point. And yeah, it like led to his death, but it was cool that he did that. At last we arrive to Darth Treya, who says we can ask her questions before fighting her. She goes into how Adris had become a Sith, and how Kreia... Bless you. Sorry, my cat's sneezing. Bless you, Mally. She goes into how Adris... Bless you, Mally. She goes into how Adris had become a Sith, how all Kreia wants to do is kill the Force because it's controlling us, that it makes a light side, a dark side, and it has them constantly kill each other to have balance. It makes people do things like it's a destiny, and it's controlling things, and Kreia doesn't like that. She wants to kill the Force.
It is said that the Force has a will. It has a destiny for us all. I wield it, but it uses us all, and that is abhorrent to me, because I hate the Force. I hate that it seems to have a will, that it would control us to achieve some measure of balance when countless lives are lost. But in you, I see the potential to see the Force die, to turn away from its will, and that is what pleases me. You are beautiful to me, Exile. A dead spot in the Force, an emptiness in which its will might be denied.
She talks about how she made us kill the last of the Jedi, how we killed the Sith who betrayed her, and we helped her remove Force opposition. So, with no Jedi, no Sith, there is nothing left, right? We are almost killing everyone who owns the Force. We then fight her, and she has two phases. Phase 1 is a regular lightsaber fight, and Phase 2 is a fight where she wields 3 purple lightsabers at once with the Force. Once you beat her, she gives you dialogue options. And what you pick for her dialogue options right at the end doesn't matter that much, because it's a very unfinished ending. You get the fuck out of Malachor 5 and it blows up, so I guess the mass shadow generator did go off. On the PC, you can at least ask about the futures of your companions, and also Atton shows up alive and says some cheesy lines at the end. And what even happened there? What happened with the fight between Atton and Sion? How did Sion escape? How come that never got, finished? And then I just went and fought Sion? Who knows what happened with a lot of things, I guess. Who knows? And that's the game, and I think what's extra interesting about this game is this isn't the extinction of the Jedi and Sith. These characters who are your allies, who you have brought with you, who you have fought with and trained with, these are the characters the Jedi and Sith live on from. These are the characters who continue to make their Jedi temples and their Sith and stuff, because this is all that's left. And I think that's really neat. Overall, I do really like this game. I hear it praised as so much better than the first KOTOR game. I don't think I can agree with that. However, I do see why they would say that. And it has potential. It really does. Even while being unfinished, I think it's still fantastic. Imagine it being finished. There's no way it wouldn't have been better, right? It's one of my favorite games, and a game that I hope gets a remake that ends up being a more finished version. But even with what we got, it's still a wonder, it's a beauty, and it's a darker story than our usual Star Wars stuff, and you know I'm gonna love that.